moved a little bit close. I'm still trying to find out like what I don't know. So some things I've been able to, like definitely become proficient in.
Mm-hmm.
My brother, the face the cues. I was reading that in the world, only 3.9% of the population are invested in crypto. In the U.S., the ranges are from like 12% to like 23%. And so, again, like knowing like what I know about currency, like the fiat currency, like man, this thing could be huge. So like applying like like things I've learned my entire life. So not just crypto, but like gold I understand a little bit about. Currency I understand a little bit about, like the fiat currency. Like how was the money like evolved and all of that. Like, So bro, just like building.
Yeah. No, man, you own it, man, because that helps. When if you own one particular asset, and then there are other assets out there, especially in the same asset class, a lot of times people don't recognize that cryptocurrency is an asset within an asset class of other currencies. And then so you say, oh wow, well, What are these other currencies earning? How do they trade? Should I own them in my portfolio? And what's the good, the bad? What's the depreciation of this currency versus another? And it's good to be able to be able to expand past that, because a lot of people who have gotten, especially in the early stages, who got into crypto, did it because of their dislike of the way the valuation in other currencies were being played out just by our whole global, financial markets. But now it's become bigger than that. It's bigger than just that whole conversation. It's now in a place where you now have found an investment lane that mirrors and lines up with your investment philosophy of what you want, the type of money that you want to earn, and the reasons why you need that money to be available for a particular reason. If it's an immediate reason versus a long-term reason. And so I think it's great that you're doing that type of deep dive at this stage of your understanding and involvement with crypto.
Yeah, but I think something else is huge, man, because something that I picked up on the calls is that make sure you listen to people in the space who have been successful, who are where you would like to be.
Yeah.
Like, don't get caught up in their politics. Don't get caught up on something they tweeted, 20 years ago. But just like focus on the knowledge. Don't, man, because there's so much noise out there on the net. So, man, so you gotta give an understand and hear what's not being said, as well as what's being said, and just see who the real players are. like on one hand, banks are talking junk about crypto, but then you got these large companies or these large banks investing
heavy
billions of dollars in crypto. So, like, come on now.
That's right. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled.
Yeah, man.
We got all these headlines out about stuff that's kind of like trying to like divert our attention. Like people just stay focused, brother. So man, this network has continued to pay dividends, brother. Like every week I just add to my like knowledge and arsenal. So thank everybody on the call for the past. I just got to give them a shout out. Because every week that brother just comes with something.
Dropping jewels. Profound paths. That's what I call them. Profound paths. That's the best.
Yes, sir. Yes. All right, I'm gonna go back on mute, man, and try to pick my face up a little bit.
All right, brother. All right, man. Appreciate you sharing, man. Right. Dropping some jewels on us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
But listen, that's something that Brother Best said that I think is just so important. Man, I tell you, I don't know how best to say this other than just say it. We have to be willing and prepared to think above, to see above what's just forced and given to us. We're bombarded nonstop with information that the media, who owns and controls so much of our way of seeing the world. And we have to make a decision to know that that is a situation, that the media controls what they want us to believe. And so we can make a decision to say, I believe everything the media tells me. I take that information in, and that's the society and world that I live in. Or you can take that bit of information and just put it in the category of information. Not good, not bad, just information. It's, you turn on television, something is saying something to you. And you just put it in a category of information. And it's not at that flow. I say all that to say, I want to a little bit unpack it a little bit, because what Brother Best just said is that you have to know and have an agenda for your life, right? You have an agenda for your life, an objective that you're working toward. And so the information that you value is correlated, is lined up with the objective that you want for your life. So if you're trying to get, in his case, if you're pursuing information, the best information as it relates to how to, one, understand the nature of cryptocurrency. And then now that you kind of understand the nature of it and it ebbs and flows, the volatility of it, then two, who has really done well? Who are the greats at accomplishing and really creating wealth in this space? And then you associate with them. And then even when you access their information, you're not accessing their whole life, right? You're not really saying, I'm going to worship the ground that person lives on because they are a crypto billionaire, right? What you're saying is that I want to learn what they did in the crypto space. And I can also learn other things about their life, but that's not the objective. Everything else that I learn about their life and what they do, that's kind of ancillary information. What I'm really in pursuit of is, what did you do specific to creating wealth in the crypto space? And the reason, and I think what he said was so important, is that what happens is that you may find out that person who you value greatly in the space of crypto could completely have a different political philosophy than you do. Or their lifestyle may be completely adverse to everything that you would possibly do in your life. So you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the baby is the fact that you saw that you learned their strategy to earn money in crypto, but then we found out that they, are abusing women and all kind of other stuff, and they just completely different lifestyle. That other stuff has nothing to do with you. All you focus on, because what happens on a lot of times, especially in this world that we live in now, if you find out, that somebody who you love and adored for years voted for Trump, that's a wrap. I'm done. And I'm like, listen, go back to what it is that you have learned about that person as it relates to the specialty of, whether it's business, whether it's education, whether it's parenting, whatever that thing was. Stick to that, because there's a lot, because you have to, at some point in time, recognize that there's a lot of information that we take in every day. And then you need to know which bucket to open when it's time for you to gain some information, gain some knowledge in that particular area, and then close it when it's time to do something else. When you're trying to accomplish something else, you go to that other person who's really good at that other piece of your life that you're trying to gain and grow, and go into that bucket. You can't just stay in the realm. I talked about the whole situation the first time I read The House of Morgan with J.P. Morgan. You guys know the bank, J.P. Morgan. Well, the man, John Pierpont Morgan, I read his book, The House of Morgan, completely one of my all-time favorite books. as a student of finance, all-time favorite book in the top 5. And as I'm reading through, how he, but for me, it was all about how he was able to financially organize a growing, emerging American economic system before we had government in place to actually regulate. We didn't have a central bank at that time. This emerging industrial industry was just, growing faster than any other nation on earth at that time. But we didn't have, from a governmental perspective, systems to regulate that. And so how did this one man create the process to do it, for 25 years? That for me was very intriguing to understand that. As I'm searching for that information, though, I learned all kind of other things about him. And I was like, ooh, wow, brother, like it's like that. Like that's how you treat your wife, And for me, that wasn't something that I wanted to. Now I could have what I could have done, which I see a lot of people do, and say, so this is how the greats treat their wives. Okay, I want to be great. That's how I'm about to treat my wife. And I see a lot of people just try to adopt the whole of a person. And that's not the way to go. You got to take the information, put it in that bucket, and then those other areas of your life that you want to grow, you open up that bucket and say, who's great at this? Put that information in there, close it, and so now you got the right type of stuff that's specific and tailored for you, your objectives, your goals, the lifestyle that you want to have in this earth while you're here. And so you don't really do so there's not a lot of collateral damage. In your pursuit of greatness, you end up destroying a whole bunch of other folks. So we don't want that to happen. And there's so many stories like that. So Brother Bess, I'm glad you highlighted that. I'm glad that information stuck out for you. The way you articulated it, is, be honest with you, just swelled my heart, because that's a big piece of what we see happening the wrong way in so many cases. And so thank you for sharing that, brother. I appreciate that. Looking forward to hearing the great stuff, man. And you're going to have to educate us as well, man. So this is good stuff. Anybody else? Let's open up the call. Anybody else would like to share? Let's talk about June. Let's talk about June. Let's talk about the past 30 days of this 90-day goal setting challenge. Where are you? What's happened? The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the fact that, hey, I hadn't started yet. Let's even talk that through. We want to at least use this hour, this time that we have, to make it meaningful and valuable to your own plight, to your own plans, your own objectives. Like I say, there are a lot. That's the beauty of having this kind of a like-minded focus of people who are doing some of the things that you are looking to do, especially as it relates to goal setting. It may not be the same type thing, but the process to get there. We want to make sure that we're having that communication. So let's take a second and we'll open up the call now. For anybody who'd like to share. We're also live here on Facebook and YouTube, so feel free to tap in the chat. Let us know what's going on. Keep us plugged in. We are watching, and we'll definitely respond on social media as well. So we'll open up the call now. All right. Wait. Just that quick. I forgot the name real quick. What was it? Profound Pass. There it is. Profound Pass. Profound Pass has entered the room.
Funny guys. Funniest of the day. 306. One, I appreciate, as always, you for laying out, so many thoughts on these wonderful Saturdays to get everybody's mind sparking from. And it's always and has been, since its inception, something that's been more than, obviously better than good luck, a divine, calling for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that, I have been lucky and delved into the right vibration to receive a lot of the stuff that, that we've been exposed to and utilize it in my life to grow.
Mm.
All it's something that is vital to just, my being. And I know there's a lot of other people that are on the call. And that's the reason why I was going to grow and share more, as we've been going through this journey. So, grateful about that. Super excited. And actually, it was the best. Who was mentioned me in 2 calls. I was the last time we were moving, so I wasn't able to really get on there and, show appreciation to him. And or even sometimes when people say stuff, and, everything that's said should really be said for yourself and God. That's really it. And then if somebody else receives it, it moves in that and accepts it and it helps them, that is, unless you're like, people connected, that is God's way of saying, hey, I heard it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you say something that's great and somebody else says it, like, wow, that really moved me, that's what I'm saying to you, but you said it, hey, you said it, and unless you happen to be, directly connected to the Lord, your last name is of Nazareth, or, that kind of thing, or Buddha, something like that. You can just talk directly and you can get a good job done. Some people get that, but,
yeah.
different ways. So when Gary said something, mention, hey, like what you said, move in a certain way, or teach what the life is about, what you said really touched me. That's super special. Not just somebody saying, hey, you said something fresh and I like it. We talk about your life.
Yeah, that's right.
And moving forward, and we're on the Mastermind call because this is important. So it's not like, it's not like I'm just laughing. Although it's something like that same special case. But, you know where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
That's the even mention anything that I'm like that. Or maybe that kills me. So, also, I'm happy he's on the street, running. But we both know that I'm out here. So,
yeah, you out there.
So,
I can hear you moving out there, brother.
Many states away. I'm going. And that was just, just a means. The exercise thing, we talked about that before. It's a means to a discipline and a control end. And a that kind of thing. The rest of the stuff is residual. Like the better look and all that. It's good thinking. But you said a lot of all right. So about the challenge, we can go so many different directions. We can go with this thing. It always goes in a good one, but there's something specifically about the 90-day challenge thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've laid out been as intentional about the moniker of the Be Do Have.
Yeah.
As we have in the past, like really like advertising it. But that is the kind of the framework that I stick to when we get into the 90-day challenge since we started up. I made it, put it to the forefront. So the first 30 days is just a be, And in my the way I approach it and the way I look at the be part is you become something, in your mind first. That thought, right? So and I try to exercise, as it relates to my goals, the visualization, and so I get deep into the writing down stuff and the vision boarding and the dream building and getting out the magazines or the visiting the locations that I want to get to or whatever. I try to just play the head game with myself
in those 30 days. And then in the next 30 days, that's when you get to the do part, where, you know, you're actually supposed to be in the rhythm of doing whatever the thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the half part is the last 30 days where, you know, obviously at the end you will let that have what you want, but it really has the second piece is to be, you know, to get deep into the gratitude piece because, and the allowing so that the things that you've been doing can come to you more easily and you can have what you want. You apply that gratitude piece to it. And that's just my, you know, interpretation of the piece we have, the process that we kind of laid out. So the first 30 has been, you know, heavy into the piece. We focusing on obviously laying out what the goal is or coming to it. And it's a smaller goal, you know. Yeah, for a while I had moved into a spiritual goal in the sense that, you know, you want a feeling and you want to control, you know, your relationships with yourself and, you know, God and all that, and getting that in line, you know, more of an esoteric, more of a, you know, one of those innocuous kind of like things out there in the grass, the grass. I'm looking at the grass out there and like the stuff, and you're trying to grab it, but it's difficult, and that's like a lifelong journey of trying to get that right. So, prior to that, I was on the money. I'm like, here's what I want in this 90 days. This is the number. So I brought it to the money, and here's the reason why. Because over the time that we've brought back to the money. But here's the reason why. It's because over the time, you know, all the study and stuff has been, and research, I've looked at a lot of different techniques. I wouldn't say thousands, but definitely hundreds of techniques. And people that write stuff, and books, and this. And this guy says, you know, write it, take a sheet of paper, fold it in half, you know, hang it from the bathroom mirror, you know, spray it with toothpaste, you do that in the morning. You know, it's all kinds of different things that people have out there. All these techniques are like swirling in my mind, right? So I finally said, okay, let's pick out, you know, 3 to 4 ones that are recurring, put them into disciplined action that will definitely occur, you know, whatever the frequency of it is. You know, I mean, everything from Napoleon Hill has the thing where he talks about, Angie Carnegie told him to get in front of the mirror and recite this thing that Angie Carnegie gave him. He's basically saying, you know, I will make more money than you in a certain amount of time, whatever. And yes, he promised that he would do it, you know, for 30 days straight. I mean, and this is, you know, almost 100 years ago where these guys are doing this. So I'm like, well, let me just pick out 3 or 4 disciplines that I'm going to definitely stick to that are going to enhance the B part of my mind. And I'm going to utilize that throughout this 90-day challenge for a certain monetary goal. Right? Purely to cleanse it, and it's funny because you were talking about the remove and replace, purely to remove a lot of, I don't want to call it junk, but to clarify some of the things, information, as it relates to personal development and specifically my own personal development, to remove some of that, clarify some of that, so that I can take these skills and really, you know, build these disciplines through the next 5 years. That's what it's really about. So that's what this 90 is like, the beginning of 5. You get what I'm saying? So it's 90 days, the beginning of 5 years. But I just want to just clarify all this stuff that I have and utilize it for the next 5, because the next 5 is where I really hit the number I want to hit.
Okay.
You understand where I'm going with that?
Yep.
So that's why I say that there's the money goal. Money goal is purely because I want to have a way to measure the success of these efforts and these disciplines that I'm applying here. You know, I can see it with the body. That's easy. That's another reason why I like it. It's easy to tell it.
Yeah.
You know, if you work out and you eat right, you will see the result. So you can see the result. But with the mind thing, you know, it's more difficult kind of see the results. But if you apply some of these techniques, see something and say, this is what I want, hence term goal, target, all that kind of stuff, you can get, you can see if it's working or not working. So
Yep.
if I'm in the mirror every morning saying, I'm the president, that might not be the case. But if I in the 90 days I'm not, well, maybe it didn't work, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. What I'm saying is, if I'm in the mirror every morning, and I'm just using that mirror technique as a thing, I'm not doing the mirror technique, although it was on my list.
Yeah.
But my babies, there's too many people in the house, and I can't be yelling and screaming in the mirror in the morning.
Or you could, maybe you could.
You got to yell. You got to yell in the mirror.
Yeah.
Gotta yell. That's the technique. That's the hook. So if anybody's doing that mirror thing, you have to yell at it.
Yeah.
From my research, you have to get really passionate with it in that mirror itself to break through that layer of unbelief that you're fighting. I did not to go with that one. But if you want to try it, hey, let me know. But you got to be yelling at yourself like, you can do it. To the point where people should be able to hear you. And I'm not to go with that. I digress. But that's what I'm saying. I got all this stuff in my brain. I'm like, you got to use this. Use this. Or not. So then I'm in the or not part of it. Like, okay, I'm not using that to rap. But all that coming back, I took that the first 30 days to say, let's get it clear, and then let's apply the discipline to these things and the consistency so that we can really monitor the results. So I mean, and it's the same thing as what Beth was saying. It's the same thing as what you were saying with crypto. I want to see the numbers, and that's why I chose the money goal. I'm like, I just want to see the numbers, and I've done it before. Like, wrote a number on the mirror and it just magically appeared. But I didn't feel like I wanted to get more of a process down. And maybe there's a layer, maybe there's a bigger calling, meaning that maybe there'll be something that maybe, my book will come out or my little techniques will come out.
Yep.
How I did it, maybe I can tell people that way. But for now, I just wanted to really be intentional about things, not just, not a miracle in the sense that the mystical miracle. The miracles are good. I don't want to downplay the miracle, but I'm just using that terminology because people understand it. Not a miracle in the sense that something that's happened to fall from our lap, but a miracle in the sense that I follow certain principles and then I receive the blessings that other people couldn't tell how it came, but I knew it was due to the effort that I had put in and it was these principles. So that's been the 30 days, and I've been trying all kinds of stuff. I've had like little wins, feeling better. The last thing I'll go into is the habit piece. I talked about 71 days. With the working out part, I definitely have seen the habit. I've broken the habit wall. This is how you know when you've broken the habit wall is when you don't do it, actually feel bad and empty about not doing it. How many of us feel bad about not doing good things? A lot of us feel bad about, feel bad about not doing bad things. Cigarettes one that I always used to be years I used to smoke cigarettes. So I know what it's like to be addicted to cigarettes. That's the reason I can look at somebody learning smoking and say, let's stop that cigarette down. But also I know that when you don't do it, all the addictions, stuff swells up in your body and all the, you can say it's chemicals, some people say it's more chemicals, some people, whatever. The bottom line is, when you haven't done it, you feel bad. And that's a bad habit that you have not done it, you feel bad. The addictions and all that kind of stuff. But when you have a good thing that you should be doing, but you don't do it, you feel bad. Now you look the wall. Something that's difficult that you desire to create. I have had that happen where I have circumstances, maybe it's raining, maybe we got an appointment in the morning and I can't really make it happen the way I want to. Feel bad.
Yeah.
so bad. And I'm like, wow, wait, that's something to where, you do a little something late at night. So that feels good about, breaking that wall and creating that discipline. And I just want to create a discipline around these few things that I chose, and in the hope and the belief that those new habits that I've created in this month will start to generate, as I do the business, that is going to generate income. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Okay. I got to let you go. Right. Oh my God, I let you go. All right, cool. So that's that. And then, we'll charge back in with other things. We got talked about a lot of stuff. But I mean, as always, man, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, man, you dropped a lot on us, and I can tell you, I was when we came over to your house last week, and I walked in and saw you and Jenny, and I was like, these folks look, regardless of, y'all could have been fighting before we walked in the house, but y'all look prosperous. You know what I'm saying? You can tell something's happening. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I walked in and I was like, wow, they look like I don't know any other way to say it. They look prosperous. You never know what people are doing. But I think it's a lot of it is coming from just the habits that you mentioned, that and the new habits, the lifestyle, the health and wellness, just those commitments. But it just came, and not just like in the physical, but even in where you engage, just with the kids, not sweating the small stuff, just like, okay. It's just like, and I said, wow, but it's stuff like that when you realize people are working on their goals. You can just other people. That's when other people can see. Sometimes people say, oh, wow, she lost a lot of weight. That's one thing. But the other part to it is when you watch how people interact, and what some people may get spooked by, or may get frustrated by, or may be edged by, or maybe which may move the normal person. Others still reserved or wasn't as phased. And said, wow, like why aren't you phased by that? You know what I'm saying? and so I got that kind of energy when we were over there the other day. I was like, like this is a good kind of, you always want to absorb when you feel like somebody is pumping out a certain type of energy, a certain type of spirit that, one, you could tell is benefiting their life, but it's another thing when you're like, hey, rub a little bit of that on me real quick, And that's the beauty about being around good people. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of being around people who are, who are really working on themselves and keeping that like-minded network tight, right? Because you always know, when somebody entered the network, who entered the space, and they weren't ready, or something is going on in their life. Some type of something is going on, and it throws off the whole equation. Or let me say, it has the potential to throw out the whole equation. It depends on who's in the room, and so, yeah, I mean, you hit a lot of great points. I'll tell you one thing, though, as you were talking, and it really made me think about.
It's just a residual. I got one thing, just a residual from that on as far as like the beauty of you doing things, and people in your circle expanding their life, getting better for them. Maybe not necessarily directly, but like that residual vibration just kind of emanating through. So then Jenny's working on herself and her body, and and doing that makes us feel better. But in the B part, where I start having activity, it helps if you see it, children, pick up on it, and they know. So last night, Paisley lost a tooth. Well, in the morning, after she lost it, came home, a Tuesday now, right? So, we're excited about the Tuesday. And then, she goes to sleep, and we go through the whole thing under the pillow. And then this morning, like right before the call, I was up trying to get out the gate and hit the street and then get on the call. And she she woke up, you know, she had a fresh dollar, you know, in her hand. And she was like, oh, yeah, the pizza that came. She was like, all right. She's still like half asleep. It's the first thing she said, okay, all right, so, well, I want to put this, you know, in the fund for the house. I said, what are you talking about? I said, well, just leave it on my nightstand. Just leave it on my nightstand. You know, but she hadn't even like the coal out of eyes. But the idea is that because she see me active and talking about what's going to happen, you know, what's going down, when we're gonna, you know, that kind of stuff, and we, you know, talked about it. It's the residual part that kind of resonates to all the people in your family, you know, all the people that are important in your life. It resonates. So, you know, just beautiful things are happening. You gotta keep your foot on the gas. You know, so something, you know, and you gotta tell kid stories. Everybody likes kid stories. You know, they sell. So there you go. You know,
kid stories sell. That's right.
Website, www. You know? Yeah, it's real though, but you know, this is another story. I'm done now. Go ahead, Steve. I hope that didn't throw off what you were about to say.
No, actually, it really, to be honest with you, it really added to it, because what I was getting ready to say is that, well, first of all, I do want to respond to that. You know, so what you did highlight is the fact that it's the benefit of the collateral effect of what you're doing now. And that's the thing, that when we go to work on us, I don't think we realize how and who it also benefits, because that's not your intention in most cases, right? It's like, I'm working on me today. I'm working on me now, focusing on helping myself get better. But then you got these layers of people, entities, you know, that are all surrounding, that also kind of move based on where you are. If you're good, the likelihood that those other people and things around you are also going to be good, because you're able to add more value to it. You're able to, and a lot of times it's not even your intentions. It's just the aura that comes with you getting better. So that's why it's good to be close to people who are working on themselves, because you are going to benefit just because of your proximity. And that's just the facts, you know. And so your household is blessed because you are focusing on growth and development and getting yourself better. And so that's one thing I want to mention. The other part, though, and this is something that happens, and for those of you who are book nerds, you know, raise your hand. You know, I know you've had this experience. You know, a lot of times I get lost in books and in the stories, and then one book will lead me to 5 other books. You know, so I'm reading one book, and this book will talk about certain things and these intriguing people, and then next thing you know, I go on a hunt and a search for that intriguing person to see if I can get more information to continue the story. And now I can connect these stories, you know, from him to her, from them to that guy, and now you got this compilation of a bunch of different stories that you're able to speak intelligently about, like as if you were there, but it happened 300, you know, years ago or whatever, you know, a long time ago. And this is a big reason why, just kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier about legacy and everything. I just think it's so important for us to document what we're doing, you know, to document it, you know, to write down, you know, what's going on, you know, today. You know, right? You know, to document your story. It's good. It's cathartic for you personally. But if you walk outside and get hit by a rock, who's going to continue that story? And so one thing you can say, well, who cares? Nobody cares. No. That is not true. History, that your existence today is valuable to the ages, to history, for so many reasons, for a host of reasons. I could bore you with a little bit of it. I mean, just think about it. You know, you got current scientists today who study the occurrences and equations and the way things happen with disease, with people at one particular time, and they try to compare that to today. You know, that's one part. You know, the other part is when you start looking at social science And we just so happen. I mean, I don't think people realize it. Like, we are living in a time right now in this post 2020 will be a marker in the history of this world for hundreds, thousands of years. It will be a marker in existence of this world, primarily because of the global nature of the pandemic. They will study this time forever. So I want to, and I want to say that as a definitive statement, because it's one thing if we were born in 2020 and then we kind of moved on from that point. So people who were born in 2020 or 2021 and who are going to be born next year, they don't have the same kind of reference point that we do because we were born before that. So we've lived in other time periods, right? There are some periods in our life that will not really have a lot of significance over the years. They may come into play only because of the impact of 2020. So I guess I'm saying this to say everything that happened in 2020 will be studied forever. Period. The same way we study, there are a lot of markers, throughout life. 1968 will be studied forever. Definitely in American history, but even I would say even in global. 1863 will be studied. Definitely in American history. There's a lot of these different markers. 2020 though, I think will have more impact than any of those years throughout history. So I say all that to say, what's happening to us today, every day, is valuable beyond your lifetime. And I would say that it's important to document what you have and what you're doing and why. And who knows? I mean, so that's the other. And the reason why I brought that up is because, Past kind of outlined just his thought process, and he's not lying. He really probably has read hundreds of books before we even met. He had already read hundreds. He had read hundreds of books before we met, and then from the part that we met to now, you add a couple other hundred to that, and so that the information is there. The challenge that, and I would say the mandate that I'm really trying to throw out here is that we have to document it. Whether we publish is one thing. Publishing, I think, as an asset manager, I'm a big proponent of documenting what you know and publish it for monetary value. Not only just for your personal asset, net income column, but the role it can play over time. I think a lot about Barack Obama. He wrote that book, Dreams of My Father, in 1996. Nobody bought that book, nobody, because no one knew who he was. Maybe his friends and family bought the book. But when he, in 2004, when he gave that speech at the Democratic National Convention, that book became a bestseller. 8 years later, all because people wanted to figure out who is Barack Obama. What is he? Who is he? Why is he? What's the deal? And that book changed the trajectory of political candidates, of what a political candidate can do that they couldn't do before 2004. So there's so much to really think about, and that so much that we have, so much that we know, so much that we've been exposed to. Document it for your own family, but at the same time, document it for the ages. Me and Maddie were on YouTube the other day, and she was on my page, and she was like, "Daddy, you have 150 videos on your page." I was like, "Yeah, we document this stuff. It is documented." And I was like, we slipping 150. We slipping. I was like, listen, we just started that last year. We could have, if we would have been on this 9 years ago, when we really started, putting this whole network together, that number would have been in the thousands. And there's a whole lot. Paz can tell you, there's a lot that we've done that didn't get documented. Events, all kinds of stuff, and so we have to document what we're doing. Document, and then figure out what you're going to do with it afterwards. But document first, figure out the plan. If you want to monetize it, great. But document. Okay. All right. So I want to wait before I say that. Anybody else have any questions or comments or would like to share about your past 30 days or anything that the brother Paz, Profound Paz, dropped? You want to share? We'll open up the call now. Anybody would like to take a second and share? We'll open up the call now. Okay. All right. We're getting ready to go into another 30 days for the month of July. But again, as we take a step back and look at June, the past 30 days of really focusing on becoming, and Paz highlighted it beautifully. When we think about be, do, have, the month of June, you set a goal and you become that goal in your mind. You get excited about the goal, you study it, you identify who the greats are, like Gary Best said, who's doing really well in this space. How do I learn? Make sure you're getting the right information. You want to get the information from the greats. Don't sugarcoat it, man. Like this is us. Like we just have to, we have to associate with the greats in the things that matter to you. And so whoever that is in that space, whoever's doing whatever your goal is, okay, this is my goal. Who do I listen to? Don't just listen to anybody. It's a lot of people who can talk, and who can say a lot of stuff. You listen to the people who already have what you want. You listen to the people who already have what you want. You listen to the people who already have what you want. I just want to, if you can just loop that in your mind. That's the important piece. You listen to the people who already have what you want. And whether that person is dead or alive, you search for the information. That's the reason why I say documenting what you're saying, what you're doing right now is so important. Because there's going to be somebody in another lifetime who's going to be at this place where you were in your lifetime, where you said, I got to make a change. I'm starting from here. And then you documented that. And in their lifetime, they'll be able to access your information. So I'm not going to stay there too long, but I just want to really make that point about document. The part of really focusing on becoming is so important because it's hard for you to, when we think about be, do, have, and you go into this month of July, and you really get into the doing, the work, you really get into that conscious competence phase where you know about it, you're doing it. You may not be a master at it. You're trying it. You're testing it out. You're getting kind of in a rhythm, you're starting to get the moving going. But repetition is going to really add so much value in the next month. I mean, if for those of you who have really stayed committed to your goal that you set, I mean, you're going to go into the month of July, I mean, just at a beautiful pace. I'm laughing because it's literally beautiful to watch people get in stride in their goal, in their ability to become what it is that they want. Because that's what we're really highlighting, and so I shared on the post yesterday that what it is that you wants you, and I want you to just think about that. Like really, you think about that thing that you really truly want. Don't you realize that thing also is just trying to come closer to you as you are trying to come closer to it? And I want to highlight that because it helps you to look past all the little weird stuff that's going to show up in between you trying to accomplish your goal. I mean, you're going to have weird stuff. You know, I mean, people are going to show up and then say stuff. Tragedies may happen. Try to get in the way and throw you off. All kind of little weird things gets in the way of you owning and really becoming, and that whole aspect of having. And that when we reach the month of August and beyond, of really being in full ownership in lifestyle of what it is that you want. And as we get into this process, it's just that I think that the doing, in my view, to be honest with you, I think it's one of the most valuable periods, because something that you thought you couldn't do, because you made the effort before, because one, you made the decision to start doing it, even though you didn't fully know how to, you started it anyway, and you did it over and over and over and over and over again, and you went from not knowing to knowing. That's such a powerful process, to go from not knowing to knowing. And that can happen at any point while we're alive. You know, we could wake up and something that we don't know how to do today, we can, as long as we keep waking up, you know, if you don't wake up, that's a different deal, right? But as long as we keep waking up, you can go from not knowing something to knowing it, from not doing something to doing it. It's as simple as that. I know I'm trying my best to make it simplistic, and a lot of stuff, maybe depending on what your goal is, it could be very complex. You know, so I'll share a little bit about my past month and definitely this past week, and even what's to come. You know, I set a goal Memorial Day of being in a position to begin to start launching these businesses and creating purpose-driven work. You know, not just another little something on the side that you can make a couple of extra dollars kind of thing. Something that could creating life-changing goals. I just want anybody, when you think about in your life up to this point now, have you ever made a life-changing goal? You know, something that you set a goal, or maybe even a life-changing decision. Like sometimes it wasn't even a goal that you were preparing for. You made a decision, and that decision was it changed your life. And one thing I do every day, and some of you probably see this. One thing I do every day in the morning when I'll go on Facebook Memories and look at what happened on that day over the years that I've been on Facebook. And on June 22nd, 2009, I looked at my thing, and it said, I made a post that said, today I'm going to make an investment into my future. That's what it said. That was my post. The morning of June 22nd, 2009. Today, I'm going to make an investment into my future. And I was like, what was I doing? I was sitting, and when I read it, I was like, what investment was I making? And then I was like, oh, I know. I'd already bought the ring. But I had made the decision that today is the day that I am going to ask Maria to be my wife. And I was, when I saw it, June 22nd, but yep, that was the day. And that was a life-changing decision, because I was on a road. I was headed in a particular direction, but that decision took me on another course, down a road that I'd never been down before. And it's important to kind of talk about that, because when you make a decision about something to do that you've never done before, then you are now in that situation of a lot of people get overwhelmed with fear and doubt, because you don't know where you're going. You don't know what you don't know. And so a lot of people don't make decisions like that. So a lot of people don't make life-changing decisions because they don't want to change their life. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to change because most people, I shouldn't say most people, a lot of people don't change their life because they don't want to go into the unknown. And so I want to just highlight that for this call, because we are talking to people who are not afraid of the unknown, who are not afraid to go down. And if you're on the call for the first time, whatever was happening to you before you called in, I can tell you now, you're now part of that group. People who you heard talking earlier, these are all people who are not afraid of the unknown, and are willing to set a goal that goal is immersed in the unknown. It lives in the land of somewhere you've never been, right? And you still don't care. You're still willing, right? So it's like if you're able to just adopt that lifestyle of I'm not afraid of the unknown. And then so here's why some people, and I would say a lot of folks, are not afraid of the unknown, because they have a roadmap, because they followed a system. They've committed to say, well, you know what? I've never done it, but she has. She did it. And not only did she do it, she's done it better than anybody I've ever seen doing it, or anybody I've ever read about. And even if you can say, you know what I'm talking about and what I'm getting ready to do, no one has ever done it. It's a completely, you're going to birth something that's never been even thought of, right? But even in that situation, other people have birthed things that did not exist before. We have precedents. We have a roadmap that we can adopt. We can identify mentors, dead or alive, who've done great things. That's why the Christian church and other religions too as well, but definitely in the Christian church, whenever we get really, when folks get really like, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen. They say, well, what would Jesus do? That's why that whole thing became a deal. What would Jesus do? Because Jesus became the precedent, that the ideal example, the model of what to do when you don't know what to do. So there is precedent for you to take your life from where it is to where you want to be. And so I say all that to say, so I saw that. So when I saw that June 22nd, 2009, I was like, I've done this before. I've done something that I've gone down a road before. And so I just want, I figure in my current life, I just want to do things that are meaningful, that could add value, not only to my life, my family, but for people I'll never meet. And so where you get that from, Dees? Because that, it's you do the things that, you always have those, those ideas that you don't know where they came from. And you're like, and you feel a certain way about it. I'm like, I can't lay on those anymore. I gotta move. This is that time of moving. And so you make that first decision. And so at the beginning, I said, goal setting challenge. That's my decision. I want to build something that could be valuable beyond my lifetime. But then at the same time, earlier this year, and I think maybe as we were coming into January, I really, one thing, and most of you who know me, I'm really sensitive to the plight of Black Americans. That when you think about historically what we've had to go through to just coexist in this country, a lot of African Americans who have white friends, they see, what you brought to them to try to connect. But our cultures are so different that, we have to put on a hat and then take the hat off. And then you do it again. You do that every day, and you do it every day. And before you know, you just become exhausted with trying to cope. And because we have this, you know, our skin color has become, like Dr. King said, a stigma. And so for me, I'm like, we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to, you know, come outside of our cultural understanding, our cultural norms, just to try to coexist and be accepted in a society who doesn't fully understand our culture. And so, you know, my goal has, and even when I started and the first time I heard about finance in 1987, you know, when the stock market crashed in 1987, and we started hearing about people in the stock market who lost a bunch of money and committing suicides and all that craziness. And I realized then, why weren't we upset? And my mom was like, we don't have any money in the stock market. That's why we're not upset. And then as that story went on, you start hearing about people making all kinds of money, especially as we got into the 90s. And I've always had this interest in learning how the greats have done it, but bring it to the community who needs it most. And and that's just my own, you know, when I say needs it most, because from my perspective, right? Everybody has different perspectives. And so I had that original intention. And then in March, one of my colleagues in the office reached out to me and said, hey, man, I want you to take a look at this. I think there's something you should take a look at. And there's a designation. So in finance, you're always trying to get more designations and licenses and things like that, just to try to add to what your expertise is. And that's the other part, you know, is that you start going down a lane and say, well, what do I want to be an expert at? What do I want to be really good at? And so for the past 3 months, I've been studying for become a certified exit planner. And basically what that is you help business owners exit their businesses. You know, actually I'm going to show you. There's a book I started reading about 3 months ago called The $10 Trillion Opportunity. The $10 Trillion Opportunity. And basically what that means is there's about, in America, and we're just talking America, but in America, there's about $10 trillion locked up in the wealth of small businesses that business owners do not know how to capitalize, do not know how to liquidate, do not know how to exit their companies. And then we're not even the whole factor of the baby boomer aspect, where you just got this aging population of business owners who hadn't figured out how to liquidate the wealth in their businesses and how to pass those businesses down to the next person and the whole nine. And it's a very specialized field. And so this past week, I've been in class all day, early morning, late nights, just in class. And let me tell you, it has been, I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. I had to take, after we finished yesterday, I just had to shut everything off and just kind of decompress. But I told Maria yesterday, I was just like, this week I've learned more about, I mean, it was just literally a game changing week. I think I realized about like halfway into the first day, I was like, this is kind of one of those line in the sand moments in your life where you say everything changed after that. And you guys, I know definitely within this network, you guys will know me for the rest of my life. I'm confident that this week was a line in the sand moment for me personally. Just where the trajectory of all that we've been working on, putting together and building and networks and all of that this week solidified. And I still got to take the test, so I ain't even taken the test yet. And so I got to pass. Thank God you guys pray for me so I can pass this test. But regardless, to be completely honest with you, pass or no pass, this is the line. This week changed everything. And I am beyond thankful to be alive and to have an opportunity to go to work, like really to go to work for the people and the things that matter to me most. When we start talking about passion and purpose, that's what's happening right now. You really literally, and for my own, and this is more of a personal story. This is where my passion and purpose have kind of come together, and I'm just excited to see about what's next. Because the work is exciting, the potential impact that it could create from an economic perspective, but from also giving people, a lane, a resource to take what they know and build something great. That's where we're going. Is to find as many people who can document. I've been using that word all day, right? To document, to organize, to incorporate what you know and create wealth for generations to come. It's just a huge beyond. I mean, if I could tap dance, shout, or whatever, right? That's how I feel right now, because the work that we've been doing, we set these goals and you get committed to them. And if you just stay committed to whatever it is that you've identified as your goal, and just try your best to live in it every day, as everybody's kind of outlined already. Again, not only is it a benefit to you, but that sphere, that world of people around you, they start, you take a look at them and you see that brightness in their face. You see how, I was talking to Paz the other day, and I was like, think about a goal where you can set a goal to create 1,000 millionaires. Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, if something that something that you understand has the power, has the ability to not only be an added real value to you, but to just set a crazy goal of creating 1,000 millionaires. This is like what was the old UNCF tagline? Shoot for the moon, but even if you miss, you'll be among the stars. That's real. Just shoot for a crazy one. Shoot, and even if you don't get there, look where you are now, kind of thing. And I just want us to know that we have that. There's a system in place. I was going through this week in the training, and they were talking about different things. When I tell you, they started talking about 90-day sprints and creative visualization, and unconscious incompetence, and I was like, what these people been on the call? Like, what? Like they're talking about things that we know, and sharing that with with the world, and it was just a validation that we're doing the right stuff. We're doing the right thing. All we have to do now is set goals that really matter to you. Not your boss, not these other people who really going to benefit, but goals that are game changers for you, your family, everybody you care about. Those kind of goals. And so just beyond focus right now. So this book that I've been reading and studying is called Walk into Destiny. And that's another book which just really talks about this whole process of adding great value to businesses and really helping them. You think about these folks who are they created these businesses. They had an idea. They know they identified their trade, but in many cases, these guys have started businesses that are just basically their jobs. They created their own job. Then they started hiring people. Now they got a workforce program. So it's like you created a job for yourself, and then you hire people, and now you got a workforce program. So you're helping other people pay their bills, right? But the question is anybody creating wealth? That's the question. I mean, listen, I meet with business owners all the time. Some of these companies are doing 10, 20, $30 million a year jobs program because there's no margin. It's like we're spending everything we're making to, one, create our widgets, or two, to pay the people, or three, the benefits and all, so it's like, we gotta, is this a jobs program, or are we trying to create wealth? And gotta answer that question. And so it's a blessing to be in a position to start thinking about ways to help as many of these folks unlock the wealth, create goals past this business. What else do you want to do with your money? How can we help more people? How can we help your family? How can we help your grandchildren, your great-grands who you never meet? Is that something that matters to you? So many things to really unpack there. On another book that I've been reading, I shared this with Gary Best the other day, a book called BRRRR, Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, and Repeat. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Absolutely great information in this book for anybody who has an interest, an idea of going into real estate, purchasing properties, going into identifying rental properties, vacation rentals, whatever. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Absolutely powerful book. I mean, I'm just very excited about what that's coming. And then again, I'm gonna just give you a quick tidbit for all you homeowners out there right now. Have you checked on the value of your house? Identify how much you paid for it. Just go to Zillow and type in your address and see how much is it worth right now. Have you ever refinanced? Have you ever cashed out refinance? If you did cash out, what would you do with the money? Would you invest it or would you spend it? And so being in a position to start thinking about, it's one thing when you do things because you have to. Oh, we're going through an emergency. We have to do certain things. It's another when you take an asset that you already have, and it just so happened the market took a nice appreciation. And I shouldn't say just so happened because the government stimulus really sparked all of this, and 2020 coronavirus sent our economics through a tailwind. But the fact is the fact. We got low interest rates and high premium value on our homes. What would you do? What are you going to do with that equity? Are you just going to wait for the market to go down and lose it? Or are you going to do something with that equity that could add value to your generational wealth plan? So just want to leave that with you. So much going on, but I wanted to just highlight a couple things before we finish up. And especially as we get ready to go into the month of July, and we're still active on this goal setting path. I started looking at, and I've been following the Be, Do, Have model. And then this week we talked about discover, prepare, and execute. Now, I like things in threes for whatever reason. Threes, just boom, boom, boom. That's what we got, right? And so I started kind of pairing those together as we're looking at goal setting. And when you look at discover and becoming, and it's like discovering is the beginning point when you're trying to find something that isn't here. You're looking for it. You know it's out there, and you're just trying to find it. And when you're at that discovery period, a lot of times what people call like research and development, you're trying to, it's out there, you just got to find it. And then, but once you find it, then you say, that's what I'm going to link to. And that's the beginning of the B. And you say, okay, this is what I want from a goal perspective. This is what I'm trying to really accomplish. And I don't have it. I know I got to go through steps. I know I got a process I need to follow. But the good thing is that you do have a process. You know, we talked about, you go from not knowing to knowing. And the in between, you know, so you just have to know that I see it now. In that discovery place, I don't have it yet. So you're in that not knowing phase. But when you see it, you associate with what that goal is. You said, this is exactly what I want. I now know that it's there. I don't know how to own it yet. I don't have it yet, but I know it's there. I'm excited about it. I want that in my life. That's the beginning of knowing. And you go, and that's what they call kind of that unconscious competence, because you know it is here, but you don't know how to own it. You know, so the process of being in that conscious competence phase, the month of July for us is all about repetition, becoming consciously competent at attaining and owning the goal. Becoming consciously, you know it's here, and the whole aspect of doing it, but you can only get there through repetition. And the truth is, the fact in most cases with repetition, especially doing something new, is that it probably hurts in the beginning. Early on, it's probably going to hurt because you don't know it yet. It's either going to hurt because it's taking so long to learn and you're having to study longer to understand it, or if it's like a physical goal and just the pain of shedding the old you into becoming into the new you, that pain in of itself is just, burning the fat, developing muscle. It's painful, you know. So that early part is difficult because you're emerging out of something into something. But I think that the power that we have is that when you do have a system that's conscious in your mind, you just know where you are in the process. And so if you know that your goal is still to get to knowing, then you're not, at that point, it gives you a little something extra to stay committed to so you don't quit. You know, and so it's just like, this is just where I am in the process. Usually, and especially in the 90-day goal setting challenge, the month of July, especially we want to focus on that 30-day aspect of it, and recognizing that if we do something constant and repetition for 21 days, and by the time we get to 22, that pain, that mental, you know, part of it, the physical part of it, should become not as painful anymore. And hopefully will get to a point where you're in a rhythm, like you're in a stride. You know, you're actually envisioning yourself doing this for a long time, until there's something else you need to kind of focus on. But to be able to come across, you know, get over something and then get into a rhythm where it's just like, okay, I get it. Like I can see myself doing this, like even for a long time, not just stopping when I hit that 90-day. And then being in a position to say that now I got it. And when you get into the month of August, when we get into the ownership, the having, you know, it's just like, you know, we talked about it before. It's just like, you know, when you start a new job, but you've never been there. So the first couple, you know, weeks, or maybe not weeks, but the first few times you had to use the GPS. You had to follow a map to get there. And then slowly but surely, you figured it out. And then you even tried some other things. You know, it's like, now I know the main route. I'm pretty sure there's some other routes that I could take actually to get there. And which is what we all do. The thing is, what we're all talking about are things that we all do in our life. We just want to apply it to our goals. We set a goal and then we apply we just kind of have to organize all these things that we've had some experience in, and doing other things that may not have been as meaningful to you, but you use the same process to accomplish it. Apply it to this new goal and organize it in a way that helps you follow the roadmap and gets you to the ultimate conclusion of now have created a new habit, and that habit just so happens to be a huge blessing to your life because it's a goal that you got committed to. And then you watch what happens with that. You know, as you now own it, you attain it, you share it, you know, or other people see what's going on in your life, they get inspired, and you see them, you know, if that's something that matters to you. For me, it's just a blessing just to see other people, you know, say, you know what, I was on that call. And a lot of times I get folks, I don't know which call they're talking about. I was on that call, and it was, and here's what happened afterwards. I changed. I started doing this. I started doing that. I started thinking about this. I started reading a book I read 20 years ago, and I read it again, and it seemed like a new book. You know, just so much. I actually I'm rereading Reginald Lewis' book. You know, why should white guys have all the fun? Seems like a new book. It's like, man, I don't remember this part. And because I'm different, what's going on in my life now is different. And so the way I internalize the information changes than it did when I read it the first time, you know, in 2010, you know, and so it's just a blessing to be able to go through these processes of setting goals, you know, creating a real definite purpose, and then measuring the progress. And so we got about 5 minutes. I want to take a second, open up the call. Anybody have any questions, comments, things they want to add in, didn't get a chance to say before? Let's jump in. We'll take a second and open up the call now. All right. Yeah. Hey. Good morning.
Is it 9 o'clock yet?
It's almost. We got time, sister. What you got?
So I'm gonna knock out mine in 2 minutes.
Okay.
I am on that journey. I'm be doing and having. I got you on the wrong thing, so you're gonna probably let me take you off this. So you know, I don't know how to do technology no more. I got old. So be doing having. And going through the process of the B, and I'm glad we break it in those 3 phases. You don't realize when you're trying to do something that you used to know how to do, that you used to be proficient in, and all of a sudden now you're trying to get back at it. You can't do it the way you used to do because you're not the same person anymore.
Yeah.
You know, we can say, you know, this is the new 30s. No, it's not. It's not.
It's a mindset.
Trying to do something physically. Dwayne has taught me that you can be born at it and you realize, wait a minute, what's going on?
That's right.
But what I have learned throughout this process of the past 30 days is that in the past, you know, you trying to get yourself together physically and focus on your health and do all these things, and so much of it, you know, you're being able to accomplish. You're tracking your calories, you're tracking your intake, you're paying attention to what you're putting in your body. But what the other part is, now you're trying to exercise, but I got all these old injuries that as soon as I start trying to do something, it's not working. But what was the title of today's call? What you wants you, or something like that.
Yeah.
Even though, because I wanted it and I wasn't saying much, all of a sudden someone comes to me and says, hey, I'll train you. And don't worry about it. We're not going to focus on the cardio. We're going to focus on the strength training.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that with the machines. That way you don't re-injure what you already, you know, the aggravating old injury. It all just happened. It all just is coming together. So I go today at 12:30 to meet my trainer, who turns out to be my boss. And she is coming all the way from, let me see, so you know, she's coming all the way from Clearmont to help me do this. And exactly. And so, and I didn't ask for it. I didn't put it out there. I was saying to myself, okay, fine, you got to get yourself together, because You need to go pay for a trainer. You need help. And I walked, and it was in my head on the way to work. And when I walked in for my meeting with her, that's the first thing she said to me when I walked in the door.
What'd she say?
If you want it, and if you're out there and your energy is there and your vibrations are pinging on everything, all this stuff that you want, and that's where your definite chief aim is, it'll come to you.
Yeah.
So keep at it.
Yeah.
I'm hanging up now.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's, because to your point, you didn't have to verbalize it. It was, first of all, you were thinking it. So if you're thinking it, thoughts are things. And things vibrate and they get access to other people, especially if you're on that same wavelength, so you think you may as well go and say it. If you think it, you may as well go ahead on and say it because it's out there already. It's there. It's connecting with whoever also is on that same thought path. So it's great. And that's why we got to be careful what we think, right? Because if you're thinking about stuff that you shouldn't be thinking about, there's somebody else who's connecting with that, and it could send you down a whole other path. But in your case, you were really thinking in value to your life, and she was right there. I mean, that's just huge, And so and the other value point about the trainer, because again, it goes back to who do you listen to? You listen to people who have what you want, and they can tell you. You can say, "Oh man, I got this hip issue." And you say, I'm done. I can't do it because I got a hip issue. He said, oh, no, this is what you have to do. You got to do this, do that, and you don't have to worry about it. Oh, I didn't realize there was another way, and that's the value of having these mentors, people who have what you want. They can show you ways that you don't know, you never knew existed. And to be able to incorporate that into your process is just beyond valuable. So I'm glad you shared that because that's a very, very personal, practical thing that's happening. And that's why we wanted people to be able to hear those type of stories because everybody's goal is different, but it's if or the same, if not even more valuable than somebody else's. And those little practical steps and how you get there, it's a part of that journey. But you're right in the right piece because even when we started, in the beginning in March or in Memorial Day, where you are now, you've been going through that process. We have our little group. You see what's going on there. Dwayne has been very active on everybody showing out. And I said, but it's given us those examples. Tysana been doing some great things. You get a chance to see how her process. So we all get a chance to be a part of that community together. And now we're going into this next month. And the question is, and what are we measuring? Are we measuring, how we feel, from a physical perspective? Are we measuring actual, scale, weight loss, all that? And just making sure that there's kind of a compilation of things that you use as a measuring stick to help you to say, okay, how am I aligning? What am I aligning progress with and success with? And I know for most people, it's usually how you feel. I mean, do I feel better? As I was talking about with Paz and Jenny, and just, you could just kind of tell that they feel better, and that's kind of the process that you want to feel good, but at the same time, there are other things that's a part of that too. So I'm glad you threw that in there because a lot of us are on that journey also. All right. 9:03. Boy, y'all got it, man. Like my dearly departed brother-in-law used to say, you got the butt out the duck today, boy. You got the butter out the duck. We hit 9:03. All right. Dare I say, anybody else have any questions or comments before we finish up for the morning? All right. Let's do it. Looking forward to it, man. This has been a blessed month. Looking forward to the next month. Let's stay at it. If you have any questions, holler at me, shoot me a text, email, Facebook, all that. Just let me know. Let's stay connected. This is something that it's a journey, but we're on this thing together. So when you feel like you're by yourself, just connect, right? Connect with somebody who's in the network, who, somebody who really understands what you're trying to accomplish, because we're trying to do the same thing in our own relative areas. So let's stay connected. Have a great Saturday. Be blessed, and we'll see you soon.